Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya.
I'll do the best I can to read this unless we have a flashlight or something. And something that would be great. Thank you. I try to sound like I come prepared, but if I read this in the darkness, you'll definitely not see that. Somebody's getting light now? Yeah? Oh, okay, well, here goes. Atra eva mayadhamna avatare iti prapanchasya
Asya
bahi
prapanchasya
sputasya
bahi sputasya
kritsnasya
cha
antaha jattare jananya mayatvam eva prakriti kritam te athaiva maya gamanavatare yasya prapanchasya bahisputasya kritsnasya chantam jatare jananya mayatvam deva prakriti kritam te atraiva maya damanavatare yasya prapanchasya bahisputasya kritsnasya chantam jatare jananya mayatvam deva prakriti kritam te atraiva maya damanavatare yasya prapanchasya bahisputasya kritsnasya chantam jatare jananya mayatvam deva prakriti kritam te
Atraiva maya dhamanavatare yasya prapanchasya bahisputasya kritsnasya chantara jatare jananya mayatmeva prakriti kritamte atraiva maya dhamanavatare yasya prapanchasya bahisputasya kritsnasya chantara jatare jananya मायात्वमेव प्रकटीकृतं ते अत्रैव माया धर्मनावतारे ह्यस्य प्रपञ्चस्य बहिस्फुटस्य कृष्णस्य चान्तर्जठरे गमनः मायात्वमेव प्रकटीकृतं अत्रैव माया यस्य प्रपञ्चस्य बहिः कृष्णस्य चान्तर्जठरे गमनः मायात्वमेव प्रकटीकृतं अत्रैव माया यस्य प्रपञ्चस्य बहिः कृष्णस्य चान्तर्जठरे गमनः मायात्वमेव प्रकटीकृतं अत्रैव माया यस्य प्रपञ्चस्य कृष्णस्य चान्तर्जठरे गमनः मायात्वमेव अत्रैव माया धर्मनावतारे यस्य प्रपञ्चस्य कृष्णस्य चान्तर्जठरे मायात्वमेव प्रकटीकृतं अत्र
In this, eva, indeed, maya dhamana.
Maya Dhaman,
O subduer of Maya,
O subduer of Maya,
avatare,
Avatare,
in the incarnation,
he
certainly,
asya,
of this,
prapanchasya,
created material manifestation, by externally, sputasya, which is visible, kritsnasya, entire, cha, and anta, within, jatare, your abdomen, jananya, unto your mother, mayatvam, your bewildering potency, eva, indeed, prakriti kritam, has been demonstrated, te, by you. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki. My dear Lord, in this incarnation, you have proved that you are the supreme controller of Maya. Although you are now within this universe, the whole universal creation is within your transcendental body. A fact you demonstrated by exhibiting the universe within your abdomen before your mother, Yashoda. So please repeat, my dear Lord, in this incarnation,
you have proved
that you are the supreme controller
that you are the supreme controller
of Maya.
of Maya.
Although you are now within this universe,
Although you are now within this universe,
the whole universal creation
the whole universal creation
is within your transcendental body.
is within your transcendental body.
A fact you demonstrated
A fact you demonstrated
by exhibiting the universe
by exhibiting universe
within your abdomen before your mother Yashoda.
before your mother Yashoda.
Report. Lord Brahma here describes the inconceivable spiritual potency of the Lord. We may find a pot within a house, but we can hardly expect to find the house within the same pot. By the Lord's spiritual potency, however, He can appear within this universe and simultaneously exhibit all the universes within His body. One may argue that since the universe seen by Mother Yashoda within Lord Krishna's abdomen or within the Lord's body, they are different from the illusory material universes manifest externally. Here Lord Brahma refutes that argument, however. Lord Krishna is Maya Damana, the supreme controller of the illusion. By the Lord's own supreme mystic potency, He can bewilder even illusion herself. Thus the Lord actually exhibited all the material universes within His body. This is Mayatvam, the supreme bewildering potency of the personality of God. Om Agyana Kumirandasya Vinanjana Shalakaya Shaktitanam Yena Asmai Shri Vedana. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes in the darkness of ignorance. Some of the devotees, they have on their phones, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So then when that plays, I don't say anything because it's part of the program. But those who don't have Hare Krishna on their cell phones, so I'm sorry we have to boot you out. So this is text number, sorry I didn't mention that at the early part. It's Canto 10, Chapter 14, and text number 16. And this is a very interesting verse. First of all, just to recap for a few moments, this is Lord Brahma speaking. And Lord Brahma is at this point feeling very guilty, very regretful, very shameful, because he has committed a very rather great offense against his master, Lord Sri Krishna. So perhaps I could begin by telling a little bit of the story, because that will glide us or ooze us into the deity's name, Shira? So, by giving a little bit of a background of this, I know some of you have read it already, either in this book or in the Krishna book. But hearing it again and again is always very delightful, because this is not ordinary literature or ordinary writing. It is transcendental writing. It comes from the spiritual world. And to begin with, this pastime is all configured or almost completely arranged by Krishna. We should not think that Lord Brahma is a fallen soul by any means whatsoever. Srila Prabhupada mentions again and again in numerous big purports that Lord Brahma is a pure devotee of the Lord. And because he is a pure devotee of the Lord, what does that mean? Well, the first thing it means is that, Lord, I am yours. You can use me any which way you want. You can kill me, you can embrace me, you can insult me, you can make a fool out of me. I don't really care what you do, because whatever you do is good. And that's because you are God. Anything God does has to be good, because by his very nature, he is virtue personified. So God is good, God is love, God is peace, and God is bliss. So the pure devotee Brahma, similarly Arjuna, Many great devotees agree. King Pariksit himself agrees to allow themselves to be used, sometimes in an apparently inauspicious way, but ultimately very auspicious, because from that pastime comes very interesting, very important and compelling principles that are meant for us, not meant for King Pariksit or Arjuna or Lord Brahma. They already know these principles. But for the purposes, as I said, of educating us, we have to remember that this pastime took place over 5,000 years ago. And Krishna knew that this pastime would be read about, just as we are reading today, 5,000 years later, and it has been read from century to century, from 1,000-year period to 1,000-year, millennia to millennia, and it will go on ad infinitum until this world is destructed. And so Krishna, he wants us all to come back to the original world whence we came. Originally, we were all Krishna-conscious living entities. We were all in the spiritual world. There's a very nice verse that I can remember in the story of King Puranjana. His queen, who is now bereft of her husband, she is a widow, and she's very much in sorrow and lamenting. And a Brahmin approaches her, and he wants to cheer her up. And the Brahmin happens to be Lord Krishna, but she doesn't know that, because he's disguised. And he says, "My dear friend, even though you cannot immediately recognize me, can't you remember that in the past we had a very intimate relationship? Unfortunately, you gave up my company to accept a position as an enjoyer of this material world." So that sums it up right there. We were there, we wanted to enjoy, even at the expense of leaving Krishna. We were already enjoying in a very blissful, inwardly blissful way, due to the fact that we were performing devotional service in the eternal world. But somehow we became curious. We wanted to find out, what does it feel like to be in a position like Krishna? Krishna is a controller. Krishna is a Purusha. He is a recipient. He receives love. We give love. In the eternal world, everyone is giving love to Krishna. That is their only business. Whatever service they're doing, whether they're singing, or painting, or cooking, or sewing, or cleansing, whatever they're doing, they're singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. They can't get Krishna out of their mind. Unlike us, we hardly can get Krishna in our mind. It is a difficulty. Because we are so maya-bound, so matter-bound, and I'm speaking for myself too, I'm not taking a position above anyone, although somehow I've been put on the seat, which would be much better if I was just on the same level. I would feel much more comfortable, believe me. But nonetheless, this is the situation, that they can't get Krishna out of their mind. However, we all have independence. Independence means I can do what I want. But in the eternal world, generally nobody wants to do what he wants to do what Krishna wants. What pleases Krishna? So if Krishna likes to eat some types of savory, or some type of halwa, or some type of sweet rice, then the cooks want to cook as much as possible. They want to cook it as well as possible, so that they can please the palate of Krishna. They can't think of anything except giving pleasure to Krishna. And we see so many wonderful pictures of the gopis standing around. Some are playing music for Krishna, some are offering him some sweets. But everyone wants, the word I hardly exists in the pure devotees of the Lord. The only word that exists is Krishna, or you. What do you want? So the I melts into almost nothing, and Krishna, in a sense, acts through his devotee. And the devotee wants that, because to feel the workings of Krishna through your heart, it can only be blissful, peaceful, strengthening, and very, very freeing, liberating. So at one point in the spiritual world, we decided that at some point we wanted to feel what it's like to be a Krishna. Krishna is receiving, Krishna is getting. And we're giving. That's the para prakriti, that is called. The Prakriti is one who receives. We receive from the Lord in the sense that we receive His energy, His strength to sustain ourselves. But we are Paraprakriti, we are not the material energy, we are the spiritual energy. So what is Krishna, what is he feeling when he's receiving all of this glorification, all of this honor, all of this prestige? I'm not getting that, so Krishna is getting it. What does it feel? What does he feel like to be a Lord? What does it feel like to always be on the enjoying side? However, the devotee is also enjoying, but reciprocally from Krishna. The devotee gives to Krishna, and in the heart Krishna reciprocates, and the devotee feels joy, feels love, feels satisfaction, feels fulfillment. So this is the nature. It is what we call indirect pleasure. But the devotee in the eternal world sometimes thinks, what does it feel like to receive directly all of those offerings? When that desire becomes too strong, it becomes too compelling, too intense, then what happens is that the devotee loses the desire to serve Krishna, and rather wants to be served as a Krishna. He wants to be served as a Lord. This is the nature of the living entity, why he's thrown into this material world. He's put here so that he can get the opportunity to be, in a sense, a small Krishna. And everyone that gets that desire. Going from the highest down to the lowest. For example, when they become a president of this country, they become a senator, they become a congressman, they become a councilman, he gets some degree of lordship. When you're president, you can veto the laws which are being proposed. When you're a congressman, you can propose laws, you can figure or you can conceive of laws and present them, proposals. And so you get opportunities for lordship, because when your laws become enacted, what happens is that people are now obeying what you have proposed. So that gives a person some degree of lordship. I'm controlling these people through my mind, which has formed these laws, which are now part of their activities. For example, a law is passed that when you're driving on the street, if you go through a red light, then you may get a $50, $100 fine. That's a law. So if you go through it and the police officer sees you, he stops you and gives you a fine. So the person who's the lawmaker, he's responsible for you getting the fine, and of course the city gets a little richer. So as a result, we pay the fine,